Hey, this is the World Advice Channel too. What I want to talk about today is the problem with Candace Owens. So for this video, I'll discuss the problem with Candace Owens when it comes to her way of thinking in a simple and straightforward way so anyone can understand it. So now that I've mentioned that, let's get started. So when it comes to the topic of what exactly is the problem with Candace Owens when it comes to her way of thinking, the simple problem with Candace Owens when it comes to her way of thinking simply comes down to the fact that she has a way of thinking that even though some of it has some truth to it, the black community does need to start taking more accountability and stuff. At the same time, the problem with her way of thinking is that she tends to ignore the fact that white people in the past and even to this day in recent history and just in general, most importantly of all, have a history of sabotaging us when we actually are doing good. And that's the problem with her way of thinking, is that she has this way of thinking that, oh, black people need to take responsibility for everything and this and that and yada 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 yada. But at the same time, she seems to not really seem to understand that sometimes you have to take into consideration, that sometimes people just don't want to see you succeed, in all honesty. And this is the problem with black conservatism in general, okay? Because even though a lot of people, when they watch my videos and so on and so forth, will assume you're probably a black conservative, I'm actually not. Because even though I do acknowledge, yes, the black community overall is going to have to start doing a better job in order for us to succeed and so on and so forth. And more specifically, most of our issues is actually kind of our own fault. Um, but at the same time, I'm also smart enough to realize that why do I want to side with a party that has historically been racist and has historically done everything to keep black people down? Instead of realizing that we don't that not only should we stick with a party that of course has been more nicer and kinder to us, we don't really need when it comes to building up our community, like being more organized and so on and so forth for the jobs we work as a black community. We don't really need to join the right wing. What's the right wing going to do? What does that have to do with anything? It's just simply down to bad behaviors and customs, that a black community has is why we economically are not doing well. And that's the truth about me, because the truth of the matter is back to what I was saying about Candace Owens, is this way of thinking that, oh, the right wing is going to save us. What the hell is that going to do? You can join a right wing, and yes, they might have a few policy changes, that at least might, according to what you might believe, might make things better, in some ways, for that matter. At the same time, you can still be a member of the right wing as a black business owner and still be doing the same dumb shit that's preventing people from wanting to join your business. Whether it could be overcharging things, when it comes to all that type of stuff for that matter, or it could be not overcharging things, not being organized. Like you're setting up a restaurant, you didn't even have the food prepared, and now the people have to wait an extremely long time for their food to be prepared for them to be able to eat it, or any of that type of stuff. Okay, for that matter. Okay, what the hell does the right wing, joining a right wing have to do with anything? Okay, they always make that argument, well, it's because of welfare, it's welfare, but that doesn't really hold up when you really realize most of the problems actually has that our community has actually has nothing to do with welfare. It's just simply bad business practices for that matter, okay? And that's a problem with her way of thinking. You don't have to join that side of that party in order to make things better. Not to mention, as I already mentioned before, as I was getting at, and it's the main point of the video, is that you have to, in life, for that matter, keep your eyes open. Because the truth of the matter is, there have in the past actually been successful black communities. There have been successful black communities that existed in the past, and look at what happened to them. They were all destroyed, just like they did with Tulsa, Oklahoma, and a few other ones, okay, for that matter. So the truth of the matter is we have to keep, as a community, as black people specifically, our eyes open, because if you keep your eyes closed and say, "Oh, I'm just going to take responsibility for everything," as a as a black community. Oh, let's just take responsibility for everything. Yet we live in a world that it's already been pretty much estimated by every scientist you can imagine in 100 years it's going to fall apart because of all the issues we have, like global warming, environmental damage, and so on and so forth. And guess who runs the world? You guessed it, white people. But some way, somehow, us black people should be critical of everything that we do. But anyway, aside from that, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to us black people, we need to keep our eyes open, because there have been attempts to screw us over in the past, and there have been a lot of African leaders who actually seem to be actually on the path to doing the right thing, who all miraculously tended to die in a plane crash every single freaking time, which is actually quite, you know, kind of suspicious if everyone's dying in exactly the same way, especially in a world like the world we live in. There's so many different variables and so many things can come into fruition that to think that everyone's going to die in the same exact way is very suspicious. And that happened in just recent history, 1960s, 1970s. That's not even mentioning all the civil rights leaders who got killed. Even one of them, that was a prominent one, I think it was Huey P. Newton or someone like that, who was killed all the way into the 1980s. 1980s, which was way more progressive than the 1950s and 1960s. So that's why, as black people, we need to be suspicious, because sometimes white people just don't want to see us succeed. And that's what we need to understand. Some white people just don't want to see us succeed, no matter what we do, in all honesty. And when we actually are doing well and we're actually seeing success and so on and so forth, they just don't want to see us get to that level, for that matter, okay? And of course, the argument, people like Candace Owens will say, well, that's a past, they wouldn't do any of that stuff. What makes you think they wouldn't do stuff like that now? You know, a lot of those people who are racist and evil have that same way of thinking that they did back then. Not to mention, there have been videos that have actually come out from people who are ex-racist who speak the honest truth of why so many white people are racist. And one of the biggest reasons they are racist is because they are scared, of black people developing as a community, and actually being competition for them, so they can't get away with the stuff that they used to get away with. Not to mention, they are scared of retaliation, because a lot of them knows they did some really messed up, fucked up things to black people, in all honesty, whether it could be, going all the way to the 1960s, 1970s, doing hate crimes, to even just being extremely cruel and mean to like some of their black classmates in a school that they were in, and all that type of stuff. So a lot of them are scared that a lot of them are going to be prosecuted and arrested for all the effed up things that they did. So to say that, that they don't want to see us that they are not going to, of course, try to prevent us from succeeding is simply foolish. Especially when you realize that, like I was saying before, racist people only up until recently, only a few years ago, and even now, I'm certain, are still posting videos discussing why white people more specifically, are so freaking frightened of the idea of black people becoming economically powerful and developed. That is the truth of the matter. So that is the simple truth. And of the matter is, yes, they will, to be more specific, will, some of them. I'm not saying the majority of white people are like this, but some of them will still try to prevent us from becoming successful. Even if we become successful, they'll try to find ways to sabotage us. So, in short, Candace Owens' ways of thinking is simply false and untrue. So, truth be told, we as black people need to keep our eyes open. And even though most of the problems we have as a community, overall, collectively speaking, is actually kind of our own fault, we also have to realize at the same time, we also have to be freaking careful of the fact that sometimes people do sabotage things, okay? And that's exactly what I'm trying to get across here. So, in short, her way of thinking that, oh, it's just our fault, we have to take every single thing is our fault and we only have to focus on ourselves when it comes to us black people, and let's not focus on white people and stuff, when it comes to why we are not seeing success and so on and so forth. That way of thinking Candace Owens has is false and is simply not true and even dangerous. So anyway, this is my video. This is all I have to say. All I have to say to finish this up is that if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say. And simply put, I'm out. So bye.